Hi everyone and welcome back to the Omnitas Spectrum. Today I'm having Thomas with me here yet again, and he actually just came home from Monday.com's big event Elevate. So we're going to have a talk about what happened over there. So let's get into it. So, Thomas, welcome back to the hot seat. Can you explain to us what is Elevate really?
So Elevate is Monday's big yearly conference, and since last year, they've been offering it as one live event and one digital event. So they do the live event at certain locations around the world on the same day-ish. And I attended November 30th in London. They offered 6 different master classes talking about either the dev product, the CRM product. They also offered like change management discussions around like implementing Monday.com and governance and project management. So that was really cool, those master classes. The 2 founders were in, they had a big opening keynote, like standard CEO stuff.
Yeah, overall a well-organized event, but that is something we have come to expect from Monday as well over the years.
I can really say that Monday leveled up from last year. Same space, felt double the size.
But from an event like this, I think what our viewers are really want to know here is what's coming up for the coming time. So, and knowing Monday, I would presume it's also they have broken it down due to products.
So I have updates for what's going to happen in the WorkOS, the CRM, the dev product, and a new exciting new product.
Yeah, I heard about that one. I think a lot of people will be quite excited about that one.
Yeah. But let's start with the WorkOS.
Yeah, I think so, because that's the base platform. So what's new, what's coming?
Obviously, we don't have exact timelines on anything. When they present stuff at Elevate, they do a high level, a lot of vision communications. But this was communicated as this is in the roadmap for 2024. We should all take that with a grain of salt, because something can be in the roadmap for 2024 now, but still get pushed out of 2024 because the resources are finite. The set roadmap then get cannibalized by short-term changes or adoptions or stuff that needs to be done, and so on.
So IT as normal.
Normal, yeah. But let's be honest. It's a good vision, and it might be that the feature comes out in beta the 2024, but not the final release. We have to look at it. So the first one is actually something we discussed in this chair before. You know, the new portfolio module. So they're gonna release the goals and OKR module that they have a tab for with the prelude of what they're gonna see.
Oh, okay.
So that's definitely mature enough for them to present at Elevate, which is really cool.
Great.
And as part of that, they're also working on a better like visualization of the portfolio management. So not only goals and OKRs. So we'll see. Maybe goals and OKRs becomes its own module. We'll see. They usually have good ideas when it's like the old school Blizzard, right?
Yeah.
They took a good game concept and they make an awesome game based on that concept. They were never the first at doing anything, but they were good at adopting games to the Blizzard way. And I think Monday has sort of become the SaaS service version of Blizzard in that regard. They're very rarely first, but when they adopt the feature, it's well baked, it's well thought out. They've done a bunch of research because they are a data-driven company. Usually I'm excited about new products or new features coming from Monday now.
Yeah, definitely. So did you get any inkling on how that visualization of portfolio management would tend to look like, or is that going to be a bit of a surprise that we learn more as it goes?
To be fair, it was high concept marketing graphical assets that they don't even look like the UI elements we have today. So I don't want to go.
We'll see.
We'll see. But the fact that we're going to be able to visualize the portfolio a lot, that's really good.
And what more things came up?
So resource management is a really big thing.
That's always been a big thing,
Monday started that with the schedules for the workload widget. They want to take it a step further, where they want to add like skills to the person, global workload and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting. Like maybe the workload widget actually almost becomes a top-level feature. Like my work, it's a top-level feature. It's
exactly.
not a widget you put in a
Exactly,
dashboard.
exactly.
I'm not saying that's what they're going to do, but there's a possibility they move in that direction.
But basically, from what we were told, that is one of the possibilities we might see, yeah.
Yeah, because they're going to add absence to the person, they're going to add skill sets to the person, they're going to have skills as a variable for assigning work. They're also looking at some really cool AI-powered things where you can basically get AI's help to suggest which of your staff members should get assigned to this job as well.
And that can be really, really great. And I guess that's also one thing, because AI is, of course, in the big buzz right now. But I guess that is one of the things that got discussed throughout the day.
Yeah, Monday's going to be releasing what they call AI atomic building blocks. In a new workflow builder with the visual programming, you can actually have a step that's an AI step, say, summarize this email and give me the sentiment of the email as an output that you can then use for the rest of the automation. Maybe put it in a text column. You know, the star column, the rating column.
Definitely.
Put like, find the sentiment or the intention of this email and then provide a 1 to 5 satisfaction output of how you interpret the data or stuff like that. So it's really cool. These atomic level AI building blocks could be, I don't know, it's so interesting, so fun, but right in the beginning it's probably going to be like, interpret this email, give me summary, give me like what feeling did the composer have.
But I mean, you can be smart with that as well, because an AI can be prompted to output only a single word, and that can be, is this a positive or a negative email?
For sure.
And then you can have a workflow for that. So it takes you different routes and stuff like that. So that might actually be quite cool, or already out of the box.
Yeah. And that's something we have been waiting for a lot, is Monday's targeting cross-border dependencies for 2024. Sometimes we talked about, like in the past, where Monday went from 1.0 to 2.0. Personally, I feel like 2024 could be the Monday 3.0 year.
It definitely sounds like it, and also taking both automation and dependencies to a more of a global scale can really be a big leveraging factor, sounds like.
Yeah, and then also finally in the Work OS, we're going to get some additional love to the Gantt view.
Oh.
So obviously we have the whole new dependencies, finish to finish, finish to start, and so on with lag that's being rolled out. But 2024, they call it adaptive Gantt. They haven't gone into really what that means exactly. But when we have words like adaptive Gantt, it usually means that if I assign a task to you and it's a 3-day task, and you, in the middle of that task you have 2 days absence, it will either flag that as red, or it can prolong the task to 5 days to make up for the fact that you only have, that you don't have availability for 2 days and so on, based on absence. So we're gonna have to see, and I would argue that this is one of those features where the capability will grow very gradually. So the full adaptive Gantt will probably not be like delivered during next year, but it's an important direction.
So it's a starting step.
Yeah.
Basically moving into a direction where we want to leverage smarter functionality, it sounds like.
Yeah. And that's the biggest updates around the Work OS.
Great, but that's just one out of 3, but soon to be 4 products then.
Definitely.
So I guess that would bring us into the CRM space of things, I believe. So of course there's been happening a lot. The CRM product itself isn't that old, but it's a product that have been piling on new capabilities just over the last year.
And to keep in mind that it's gone, in a year it's been released, it's become like top 4 G2 CRM, right? So it's already achieved a lot of accolades in this short year, but still missing a lot of features and still missing a lot of the scalability. So just imagine, like, especially after you hear this roadmap.
I know, it's, even though it is in some respects it's so new, so it, like you said, it is missing a few features that you might find in something that have had longer time to mature, but still it comes with a very, very robust set of features already. But actually I read some statistics and saw it's actually the fastest growing CRM system on the market today.
Okay. So the big things, right?
Yeah.
Let's look at this. email sequencing inside of Monday.
That is a big thing. They've been talking about it to do it for a long, long time, but now telling us we are doing it.
Yeah. And I mean, also the fact that it plays again with the workflow builder, because the way I understood it, is that you will be using the same workflow builder to set up your email sequences.
Oh, that's great. So it's going to be really easy, basically, to do.
Hopefully, and then you have all the pauses, you have all the ifs, and so on and so forth.
That's a big thing. What more would we expect from the CRM over the coming year?
So when you're in emails and activities, and you look at all the events like notes, calls, emails,
your timeline.
Yeah, they call it the CRM timeline. Yeah. I actually didn't know that was the feature name of it. They are going to open up for third-party integrations to start populating that. So with Zoom, for example, if you have a deep integration to Zoom, you can start getting Zoom calls as part of that history without having to log them manually.
That's great. And maybe then we can get Calendly meetings and stuff like that.
Hopefully. I mean, if they do it right, they do it as an API thing, meaning that we also at Omnitas can help our clients solve this for non-supporting third-party tools as well.
Exactly. That was my thinking here as well. I'm going like, what I could do with that.
Yeah. Another like really, really big thing, which I don't know a CRM today that has this offering. They are talking about a native caller. A native soft phone caller inside of Monday.
I think I know only one CRM that's got that, but that's a native and purely an American feature, I believe. So that is fairly unique. That is.
I don't know how it's going to look, how it's going to work, what the cost is going to be or anything, but just the fact that they present native caller as one of the CRM features on Elevate is huge.
Just having those automatic logs, that help, and not having to integrate with third-party VoIP, basically.
If we look at this, what we're looking at is email sequencing, getting the timeline auto-populated, native caller. What Monday's trying to do is a seamless low-level admin experience for salespeople, which is really what all the salespeople ask, and none of the other CRMs deliver. There's other CRMs on the market that offer so many better features or more features, but the salespeople don't use them anyways because of the admin included.
Yeah, it's a manual labor to do it.
So I think if they keep that as their core principle of direction, that is going to be like how Monday wins the CRM market, how Monday wins the heart of salespeople.
But I mean, that's the thing for all systems, right? Yeah, you can pile on the features, but you need to make them usable and user-friendly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just 5,000 new buttons, which people will just go like, I wouldn't even dare.
And on that subject, so one of the things that they want to achieve is innovative pipelining tool on mobile and desktop.
And now you really got me here, but how are they going to be innovative?
Well, first of all, just the fact that they are considering mobile as its separate input means that they're probably going to make it very, very simple for the salesperson to do the right things. So that's very good. This is one of the things where I don't really recall what the visuals were. It wasn't more like talked about it from a while. But it's going to be interesting because obviously today, if we want to look at the pipe from some kind of competitive way or anything, the only thing we really have is the goals or the gamification widget. So they still have a lot of work to do for a sales leader to get a good view of the pipeline. So I think basically, if you look at what you as a sales leader would need, that's probably what you get as pre-built widgets or reports.
Yeah, I would say that's usually for someone in my role that usually feels the bit of that lack today. So it's great hearing that that is something coming online. And then I would just guess here, I would venture a guess that is some CRM AI things coming online here as well, right?
So they're doing AI-powered insights, and that's a whole big thing that they were going to do in all of the products as well. So they're actually going to create specific AI bots.
Yeah.
And these bots have functions. So you can have an SDR bot that's programmed from an SDR perspective. And so you can ask it to do or work as an SDR, and it knows what its parameters are because it's trained as an SDR.
So this basically sounds like someone has been listening to OpenAI and how their GPTs kind of work and gone like, hey, I think I have an idea.
I'll leave that interpretation to you because that's not something they said, but they're really gonna introduce several bots.
But that's really, really cool.
And I would assume that some of these bots might be at the premium because they're very specifically trained to do specific things and so on. But it's really cool how they train these. Not to jump ahead because we're on that subject, but for example, they're gonna have a Scrum Master bot.
Ah, okay. So for everyone who's trying to do Scrum,
the bot can now help you and identify bottlenecks and stuff like that from a Scrum Master perspective.
Oh, that's really, really good because this is one of the things that AI does really, really, really well. Summarize big data sets and give you the key takeaways from those. You don't need a business analyst in that same capacity anymore.
So the example they gave for the Scrum Master bot was basically it did analysis on your current sprint and told you what items in your sprint that was likely to finish in time or what stuff was unlikely to finish on time based on stuff like that, or if a person was over planned in the sprint, and also could give suggestions on how to redistribute work to make it optimal. I mean, if they just achieved 25% of all of this in the first go, it's super awesome.
Yeah. That kind of concludes the CRM, I guess, which would lead us into the dev product.
Yeah, which we always started talking about.
So we already took that sneak peek in, but so on to talk about Scrum.
So let's take that again. So we had the Agile Insights and Report powered by these AI bots, and they're going to be like Kanban bots, Scrumban bots, they're going to be sales, they're going to be, right now, none of them exist, so we'll see how many will be there in what direction and so on. But it's really cool.
Yeah, but it's
I like this little idea of the bots.
Yeah,
right.
I do like it. I do like it. I've already started to experiment with doing AI bots myself for us internally. But this is so great when this can come straight out of the box into Monday.
And also, I mean, you have Monday's advantage is that they always do, as we say, they use big data, data-driven analysis, and they combine a lot of best practices into some kind of like joint best practices. It's almost like a meta study, right?
Yeah.
But from a software perspective. So I would also trust an AI bot trained by Monday quite a lot because they usually have such a wide data and such a wide analysis goes into it as well, right?
Yeah, awesome. What more can we expect from the dev product in the coming year?
So obviously, dev is about software and production, right?
Yeah.
And right now, the biggest thing that's been missing or has been very lacking is the roadmap, like the product roadmap. So it's going to be a bit more focus on the product manager and the program managers in this year's iteration of the dev product.
Oh, nice.
So the first out would probably be the roadmap widget.
Yeah.
So you can start using and breaking it down. And I think it's a good idea and good that they call it the roadmap widget, meaning that they don't see this as just a different configured Gantt, right?
Yeah.
So right now we're trying to do road mapping in Gantt views, and it has some limitations, especially also because it doesn't feed from the data that we have, like stories, epics, features, and so on. It basically is standalone, disconnected data that's making up the Gantt view.
So is that also something that's coming? So it's going to be able, or at least that's the vision, to be able to
Let's hope so, if I put it like that, right? If they don't do it like that, then I don't see why they need a specific roadmap widget.
True.
If I put it like that.
Yeah, definitely.
And then they're going to put more emphasis on breaking features into epic stories and tasks, because right now that's not really. Today you basically have the epics and feature, and that's it, and you put the features in the sprints. But by allowing features, epic stories, tasks, like it will allow more variations. It will cater to more teams, because they all do use the team's product differently. But also, I think this will be a good gateway because what we're also seeing is a lot of non-developer teams are using the dev product, and this enhancement will allow for more agile, sprint-based teams that are not doing software development to still use the dev product.
Okay, so maybe we'll soon see very many marketing teams going into
Well,
the dev product.
like there's no secret, right? Our implementation team, our CSMs, they use the dev tool because we work in sprints, not because we do software development.
Yep.
And I think that like marketing, like you said, they work. A lot of the marketing teams today work in sprints.
Yeah, they do. They do.
If should or not, that's another question.
Yeah,
But they do.
I won't put my notion on to however I think they should or not, but I can conclude they do.
Yeah. And then they were a little vague about like, will they rebuild or will they just enhance? But they want to make stronger integrations to DevOps tools.
Okay, so like Azure DevOps, etc.
Yeah, but also the ones surrounding it, like Jeeves, for example, and stuff like that. So like the DevOps
flora,
suite of services.
Yeah, the flora of different software.
And they showed, like in the DevOps masterclass, they showed a slide with like, these are the 50 most common supporting software that you need for software and DevOps. Yeah. And obviously Monday's not going to tackle all of them, but they are starting with the Gits. They might be going to the Jeeves, and they have a priority list.
Like I presume you need to have, you can't do everything at once, or nothing is going to be done correctly.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say like, oh, so now you can integrate to Azure DevOps. Like that's not what we're intending. We're talking about the stuff outside of that, because there's already is an Azure DevOps integration.
Yeah, exactly.
And because there is one. That means that Monday doesn't have to prioritize that as well, because there's already one that works quite well, developed by third party.
Yeah, and that's the power of having the App Store.
Oh, definitely. It makes it easier as the main vendor to focus your resources on the actual gaps. One would argue that if it's an app in the marketplace, it might be a gap, but I would call it like a soft gap or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
We want to the core dev people should focus on the real gaps.
So all in all, it's going to be a fairly interesting year also for everyone who's interested in the dev product.
Definitely.
But that would lead me into asking, what more? What more can we expect? Because now we're talking completely new stuff that none of you guys have heard about before.
So they actually pulled an apple.
Oh, they pulled an apple. In what way did they pull an apple?
They were almost done with the roadmap presentation. It sounded like they concluded it, and then it was, and one more thing.
Classic.
Yes. So, drum roll, Monday's new product that's going to be released at least as a beta level next year already. It's called Monday Service.
Oh, and what would that be?
Well, if I told you it was called Monday ITSM, you would probably understand it better.
Then I would know exactly what to expect from it.
So Monday intends to natively tackle ticket management, SLA management, create external portals, CSAT, and asset management.
Oh my God. That's the whole suite of things
that
you
is
basically
ITSM,
need.
Yeah,
that is ITSM in a nutshell.
Yes. So imagine a portal like you would imagine a portal, hopefully. But also, right now, today, when we build a ticketing or a system that uses SLAs, we're using the time tracking column today and automation to start and stop to check and make sure that we are SLA compliant. So this is going to be really good. And also, I know a lot of companies that uses emails and activities for ticketing, and they live with all the downsides because emails and activities is built as a CRM function. It's built to catch all interactions with one person. Whereas in a ticketing situation,
you only want to
you want
catch
one thread.
That.
It's one conversation, right? And that's what should be in focus. Then we data enrich it from other ways, of course.
Yes, of course.
But it's one conversation. So this will open up to the people who decided that ticketing in Monday was not a good idea because emails and activities is a CRM tool. It will also, for the people that say, you know what? We still want to do it in Monday because the advantages are there. We are okay with the drawbacks of having all conversation in a jumbled timeline. They will just be happier.
this is a great big thing that's coming out. Did you get to see any visuals, or do we have any kind of an idea of a beta timeline? Do we know anything?
I don't have any timelines. I would say we're looking at the second half of the year.
Presumably, yes.
I would say that Q2 might be when they actually start showing things to selected clients, partners to gather feedback for the final some beta sprint. And of course, I want to preface this is Thomas' interpretation of the timeline. No commitments to anything. Monday's not committed to any timelines. It could be that it comes out 31st of December next year. So bear that in mind, but the vision is quite ambitious, right?
Yeah.
So it's a whole new product. It's a whole new set of product managers, dedicated sprint teams, right? So I don't know if you know this, but Monday runs 45 sprint teams. Some of them work on the core product, several of them might be in the CRM and so on. So they're split over all the capabilities of Monday, 45 different sprint teams.
Oh my God.
And now we get dedicated product managers, we get dedicated developers for this space. And as long as we have dedicated product managers, they will follow the Monday true and tested version of way of delivering a product. We benchmark, we gather data, we understand what's out there, we understand what the client needs. And maybe we don't replicate Zendesk. Maybe we do a version that caters to Monday, but answers the need.
Yeah, I think that's a better way to do it, because otherwise you're basically just being a copycat instead. How do we work, but what are the needs and the pains of the marketplace?
Yeah.
And how can we solve them from our framework, basically? And I think that's a much cleaner train of thought to have.
Definitely.
But would that conclude Elevate for this year?
These are definitely the key takeaways. There was a nice of other lectures, and I want to really stress, register for Elevate Digital, December 14. Omnitas actually has a masterclass that's going to go on there.
Yes, we do.
Time reporting app is going to be featured there. And if you have the chance to join Live Elevate for next year, don't miss that chance. Tickets were very, very selective.
And with that, big thank you from me and Thomas, and this was the Omnitas Spectrum for this time. See you next time. Bye.